So the next thing I want to ask you, is there any portion of the Constitution that you are prepared to do without? Now, you're already supposed to have it, but if there's a portion of it you're willing to do without, I'm going to give you a number, and you raise your hand if that's agreeable to you, okay? 50%. No takers. 40%. Okay, 10%. 1%. Nobody is raising their hand.
Yeah.
You're willing to give up 1%.
16th Amendment.
So you're willing to give up 1%. Okay, I understand where you're going.
Good.
I know where you're going. I'm way ahead of you.
Good.
All right. And I'm going to cover that because y'all brought up the question about the Federal Reserve. But, so we're going to get there. We're on the same page, sir. So when I'm done speaking, I am going to force you into either an awakening or cognitive dissonance. Now we know what, well, in case you don't know, cognitive dissonance. The truth is right there in front of your face, but you still reject it because it's not what you want to believe. That's part of the reasons why we keep electing the same politicians over and over and over and over and over again. Nothing changing because we don't want to acknowledge that they are bums. Okay? So, let me go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty. It's not a pretty speech by any means. It's ugly. This is an ugly truth. But I'll do my little house cleaning right quick. My name is Derrick Grayson, as they said. I'm a preacher. I've been in technology for 30 years. I'm an engineer and a software developer. Father of 5 girls. I was married, but I'm no longer married, but I have 5 beautiful daughters. And I love this country. And I'm also a Navy veteran. So I serve my country. I know what it is to sign on the dotted line and be prepared to give it all up for your country. And I was then, and I am now. If I wasn't too old, I might join back up if they had a 60-year-old ship, you know what I mean, for 60-year-olds, because that's how old I am. This is my push card. It's got all of those conservative principles that you guys love to get your ears tickled with. You know, I see, I'm all for the Second Amendment. Everybody clap. And I believe in limited God. Everybody claps. That's all fine and dandy. But as a conservative constitutionalist, those things should be accepted and expected from a conservative. That shouldn't be something that they have to sell you on. That is something that you should demand. Then they tell you they're going to go to Washington to be your leader. I have never used that word leader in reference to myself because as a minister, I understand what it is to serve. You remember the example where Peter didn't want to wash Christ's feet and Christ said, you can't have no part of me. These folks are your servants. They're not your leaders.
That's right.
But everybody don't understand that. I need a leader that's going to go. No. You need somebody that's going to serve the public. Now, many of you think that Donald Trump is up there leading the nation. Donald Trump is up there serving the country. Serving the country. Standing in the gap for each and every one of us. Now we're going to get to the ugly truth. Standing in the gap between Democrats and Republicans. You know, I know. That's an ugly truth. But let me break it down for you. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Barry Loudermilk spoke yesterday at an event that Dr. Taylor and I were at. Pointing at Trump, expressing his fidelity to President Trump. But you see, I'm one of them old cats that believe in research. Being that I'm naturally one who likes to read, I love science and biology and, you know, the universe. God's awesome powers just amaze me. Dinosaurs, and it don't trip me up because they aren't mentioned in the Bible. You know, none of that stuff. Different gap. All of that stuff excites me. So I study everything. I study these politicians. I follow their voting records. Now, a couple of years ago, Barry Loudermilk came out and said, when Trump was trying to make the country safe for us, President Trump, his Muslim ban is dangerous and hurtful. See, some of you probably don't even remember that. But I remember that. He was not one supporting Trump. And he barely won his race. Because see, it is clear now that if you don't support Donald Trump and you call yourself a Republican, you don't win. Now he has changed his tune because it is expedient. But if you go back in time and look at every politician, Republican, that was running back then, they were very silent on Trump. Very silent. They were waiting to see what was going to happen. And to show you what they thought about you after they realized what had happened, 40 plus Republicans quit their seat after Donald Trump won. After he won. Why? To give the House and the Senate to liberal Democrats. That was the purpose. Now we got the guy that we want, that the people said they wanted. Now you quit, Trey Gowdy? You quit? Tucker Carlson did a video where he called out Trey Gowdy, Lindsey Graham, Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell. He said, when Trump won, we had the majority. You could have shut down the investigation of Donald Trump, but you did not. Why? They had no answer. They had no good answer. We wouldn't be where we are today had they done their jobs back then.
Amen.
But I'm not surprised because they've never been doing their job. Barry Loudermilk has a constitutional voting record of 66%. Doug Collins, 59. David Perdue, 57. Now, y'all just said the Constitution was important to you. That's what y'all said. And you can go and look up their constitutional voting records. Freedom Index and the Conservative Review. Now, there's a fake one out there that's going to put them up in their 80s. Don't believe that one when you got two that's telling the truth on them. And I'm going to tell you one other thing. If Thomas Massey can have 99% and Rand Paul can have 94%, why can't these guys be in the 90s too? Because they don't want to be. Money. They have handlers. That's what they do. That's why we are where we are. Listen to every single ad that they are running. And I've listened to them. I sat there one night and had thoughts on just to listen to the political ads from Loeffler, from Perdue, the people against Perdue, the people against Loeffler, which is Collins against Perdue. Not a single ad mentions this one word, the Constitution. Not one. Not one. And I said, well, I'll just be doggone. Because they know people are too focused on the narrative of division. You're scared about BLM? I'm a preacher, but I tell people, if somebody violently tries to pull you out of a car, or put it this way, if they try to violently pull me out of my vehicle, they get a bullet. End of that story. God allows for self-defense. Our Declaration of Independence says unalienable rights, and in that the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it is politicians that are allowing this madness with BLM and Antifa to persist. But very few politicians say Donald Trump are trying to do anything about it. Very few. In the way of a legislative process. So what makes me different? What makes me different is because I believe in the Constitution 100% of the Constitution, 100% of the time. I'm not afraid to name their names. Doug Collins wants to be everywhere I am not after that last event where he showed up and I was there.
Swayersville is a tree.
He wants to be everywhere I am not. Because I put the questions in people's minds that they need to know so that they can ask these politicians, why are you doing this? Why? They need to be held accountable. Now we talk about term limits. Term limits already exist. It's called a vote. If you don't vote for them and you show them that when you don't do your job, you lose your job, we win. I went to another event this morning. They had candidates there. This was down in Clayton County, Morrow, Georgia. They wouldn't let me speak. The guy said, as he was speaking, well, we have no more candidates. I said, well, you got one candidate right over here. He walked over. Mr. Grayson, let me go make a phone call. Now, why do you got to make a phone call? Because they already know what I'm going to say. Went, made his phone call, came back, Mr. Grayson, because the other candidates aren't here, we can't allow you to speak. I said, that's BS, and you know it. It's not my fault that they don't show up. I come to speak to the people and let the people know what's going on. Mr. Grayson, let me go and make another phone call. When he made another phone call, came back, Mr. Grayson, this is, a Trump victory event, and we just don't get involved in that. But you got other candidates speaking. This was a group, an outfit, and I'm going to tell you how I know. I walked over to a lady. I said, man, I'm running for U.S. Senate. I can't speak, but here's my push card. Who are you running against? Now, this is a woman in her, I'm going to say, late 60s. Well, who are you running against? Right there, no research. Ma'am, you don't know who's running in the state of Georgia for Senate? You don't know the candidates that are on the ballot? Shame on you. Shame on you. But I didn't say that. I say I'm running against Collins and Loeffler, and she promptly put it back in my hand. They are there supporting either Collins or Loeffler. And they don't want nothing that's going to mess that up. Because, see, I don't make personal attacks against people. I have never said a word against Collins, Loeffler, or any of them on a personal level attacking them. Why? Because I don't need to. I know what their voting records are. Karen Handel's voting record is 49%. They had a debate on online Zoom. She was on there. As soon as my picture showed up, she dropped off because she knew what I was going to say. Karen, your constitutional voting record is 49%. How do you live with yourself? Yours is so bad, you may as well be a Republican. These things matter. Because, see, it is that percentage of the time when they don't vote with the Constitution that they are voting with Democrats, and on those things that they are voting with Democrats on, those are the things that are killing us. Now, I got a new byline. If you don't like me, for whatever reason, personal, racial, whatever reason, don't matter. That's fine. That's fine. We got to live in this country together, though. We got to live here in Georgia together. And I know you want the best for your family. I want the best for my family. So if you can't bring yourself to vote for me, vote for Dr. Taylor or Annette Jackson. I have talked with them. I know where they stand. But for God's sake, don't give your vote to Collins or Loeffler. You'll remain a part of the problem. They've got everybody looking on the right, looking to the left, the Democrats, the Democrats, the Democrats. On the left, looking to the right, the Republicans, the Republicans, the Republicans. So caught up in that division, they can't even see what's being done to us by the politicians. They are gearing us up for mandatory vaccines, whether you know it or not. I see everything in a biblical perspective because I look deeper at it. And a lot of people like to take the Bible literally. I'll be done here in just about 2 minutes. Like to take the Bible literally. Everything written in the Bible is not literal. Some of it is figurative. I don't know anybody that could walk over to Stone Mountain and say, well, God, I got the faith of a mustard seed. Stone Mountain, be thou removed and cast into the Atlantic Ocean. I challenge any of you to go do it. If you do it, then I shall forget all that I have ever said about the Bible being both literal and figurative. You will have proven me wrong. Some things are figurative, and in that, Jesus is speaking of challenges that we may have in our life that can seem like mountains. We've all been in that place where we didn't know if tomorrow would come for us, or where we have hated the circumstances that we are in. I know I've been there. And I needed that faith to help me to move that mountain. It was that faith. And that was Jesus speaking figuratively. The mark of the beast. Everywhere you go, where they force you to put on a mask, that is your mark. What does it say about the mark of the beast? Without the mark, you could not buy or sell. That is the forerunner. That is figurative. But it is of a marked kind. You cannot buy without the mark. Now, if they can make you put on a mask based on lies, they can make you take Bill Gates' chip in your hand. I know some of you say, man, what is he talking about? He's off his rocker. This is a country that once made slavery legal. So if you don't think politicians are capable, you need to pick up a history book. This is a country that gave Tuskegee Airmen, and not just them, white people too, syphilis, intentionally. This is a country where some prosecutors today, like Kamala Harris, will deny a DNA test for an individual that's on death row. So don't think that your politicians are not capable. They are capable. And they will go as far as you let them. So I drove 100 miles to get here. And it don't matter if I had drove 15 or 200. Wherever I go, I don't go to tickle your ears. My handle that they call me is TMOTOFGA, which stands for the Minister of Truth. Minister, server, servant, truth. That's what I'm bringing. I am going to tell you the truth. And if you think I'm lying about anything I have said, ask me now. Put me on the spot. You can get your practice in right now for when you see Doug Collins and Kelly Law. So if you got any questions that you want to ask me about anything, I will answer you directly and straightforward. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. They have you and Dr. Taylor, the news media has y'all completely shut out. Newspapers, television, your name's never, ever mentioned.
That's right.
The churches are not calling your name out. The 2A movement's not calling your name out. We're not hearing your name. We didn't know that you were even running or what race you were running for until not too long in the past. How are we going to remedy that so we can elect good people like Derrick, Grayson, and Dr. Taylor in the future? What are we gonna do?
So, the how is you. The media is not going to talk about us. They're not.
That's not welcome.
That's right.
That's it. That's why.
So God has put Dr. Taylor and I in a unique position. Everybody now is being conditioned to go to social media for their information and their news. Everybody's doing things on Zoom. Now is the perfect time, and Dr. Taylor and I discussed this. The method is reaching people through social media and getting people to pass the word. When I got up here, my team asked me, well, how many people are here? I said, there are about 20, 25 people. I say, but these 25 will turn into 75.
That's right.
Everybody up here has got a family member, a neighbor, a friend, somebody they can talk to. But you got to be willing to speak the truth. A friend of mine I grew up with, I laid my hat on I keep my hat on the dashboard. Man, you're not afraid somebody's gonna break out your window? I say, no, I got insurance. It's okay. I get free windshield replacement.
Right.
And he saw me and he started going ham on me about Trump. Trump has shut down the post office and he's stopping people from getting their stimulus check. Man, he was talking about himself. And I said, if you talk to me, you got to come with facts.
Yeah.
Trump has not shut down the post office, and I don't know who told you that lie, but it is the furthest thing from the truth. And Trump is not stopping you from getting your stimulus check if you understood how the process works. And you got to be able to explain this stuff to people now when they come at you. The way the process works, the House presents a bill, the Senate presents a bill, they reconcile it, then they put it on the president's desk, and the president signs it. So it is Congress that has not given the president a bill. So you can't get your stimulus check until they do. I suggest you call whoever is, or I don't think nobody's sitting in John Lewis's seat right now, but I suggest you call your senator and ask them, when are you going to get me my stimulus check? But don't go ham on me because I got a Trump hat in my car. You know, so understand the issue. Know the issue. And as far as the Federal Reserve goes, I don't talk about this much because it's over many people's heads. Most of us are focused on our day-to-day lives and whatnot, and we don't see what's over the horizon because we have not been up the top of the hill. But if we do not abolish our current monetary system, and that includes getting rid of the central bank, the 16th Amendment, nothing else matters. Nothing. Constant borrowing and spending at an ever-increasing level each year is not sustainable. And Trump knows that. He knows that. So the Federal Reserve has to be abolished. And we need to pull out of the UN because the UN is balking because Trump has told the ambassador, go ahead and implement a snapback. In other words, put those restrictions, those embargoes back on Iran, and they don't like it. We pay most of the bill for you guys in the UN, and we got a problem with Iran, and you're balking at us. Don't want us to do what's best for this country. What was Trump's motto? Make America great again. So, any other questions? Don't be bashful. Don't be shy.
Let me just make a remark.
Please.
You're talking about, for both of you, how do I get the word out when the media is doing its best to obscure the fact that we're running for this office and we haven't been anointed by the deep state. All right, how do you do it? Well, let me tell you that you can get little cards printed up and you can go out on the street and you start passing them out. And who do you pass them out to? Pass them out to anybody that's not wearing a mask. Those are your people.
That's
Those are your people. You know, the 13th Amendment supposedly outlaws slavery, yet we're all slaves. All of us.
I tell everybody what you have to understand about politicians. The reason we had slavery existing in the first place is because the spirit of the preamble, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, was ignored by those in power.
Yep.
The reason we had to get the 14th Amendment is because those men in power said to hell with the 13th Amendment. Even though we were free, they didn't want the children to vote. The reason we had to get the 15th Amendment was because they didn't care about the 14th Amendment. And the reason we had to have the Civil Rights Act and the Civil Rights Bill is because they didn't care about the 13th, 14th, or 15th Amendment. These are politicians that are in power that were doing this. And in 1913, when the first slavery ended, the new slavery began. Every last one of you that works and pays for tax, you are a debt and tax slave.
Amen.
That's what you are. And that's powerful people in Washington. Dr. Taylor mentioned fair tax. I've supported the fair tax since I heard about it. One of the authors, Neil White, God rest his soul, good friend of mine, worked on my first campaign, sat me down and we talked about the fair tax. So I am still a proponent of the fair tax. And I'm going to tell you, first thing I would do in Washington, D.C., qualified immunity would go away.
Yep, amen.
Okay? Bad cops need to be held accountable for their deeds. That 2 to 3% that are on the force, making everybody else look bad. Next, I would repeal or move to repeal the Vaccine Act of '86 that protects pharmaceutical companies from lawsuits against their vaccines that either harm or kill. Yes. I would seek to pass what I call the Justice Act, where when prosecutors lie for a conviction, they can go to jail.
Amen.
Yes, sir.
Well, you being a man of the book,
Yes, sir.
I've got something that ought to be put right into the statutory laws of every state and the federal government. That's Deuteronomy 19:15 through 19. That is, you cannot convict anyone of a crime without two witnesses. One witness is no witness. That was the same in the Roman civil law. Even the pagans understood that. One witness is no witness. And the other is that whatever, when a false witness is discovered, that he pays the exact same price he would have had done to the one that he bore false witness against. There you would get rid of these cops turning a blind eye to their buddies. You know, say, hey man, I ain't doing 60 years for your skin. You know, save your hide. You did it. You're on your own.
Well, I already wrote out the Justice Act. If you email me, my email is on that card, I'll send you all 12, and what you're talking about is included. I understand what justice is. People in power have to be held accountable. But those that are making the laws can only be held accountable by us. And yes, sir.
Will you, Dr. Taylor, support a statewide newspaper run by Christian conservatives with actual moral background?
No, I couldn't do that. That's a violation of the First Amendment, separation of church and state. But I believe that those that want to promote this should get together as a people, and they can make happen whatever they want to make happen.
That's what
You're
he's
not
talking
talking
about.
about state road.
He's not talking
He's
about
not
government.
road.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, who that understands the Bible would be opposed to people talking about the Bible? My mother didn't vote for Obama, God rest her soul, in that election because I said, Mama, you're a Christian. How can you support a party and a man that supports same-sex marriage and abortion,
That's right.
late-term abortion at that? Hillary Clinton. How can you do that?
Those who hate me love them.
Yes. And so she did not go and vote for Hillary Clinton,
Thank God.
but she did vote for Donald Trump, but that was still a win for Trump. One vote that wasn't counted. So, yeah, I am a fundamentalist when it comes to Scripture. But I'll tell you this, and I'm going to shut up. I follow this stuff closely. You see more arrests of pedophiles today than you have in the last 20 years.
Right.
And that is because of President Donald Trump.
Thank you.
That's because of President Donald Trump. Our children are our jewels. They are gifts from God.
Heritage.
And when we don't protect them, God looks harshly upon us. And we have to start protecting the futures of our children, and we need to get rid of these corrupt politicians like Loeffler and Collins. And the reason I call them corrupt, not corrupt in the sense of criminality, but when they lie to you and tell you that they support the Constitution yet never talk about it, rarely mention it, and when they go and vote with things that are against the Constitution along with Democrats. That is a corruption of their oath to obey and uphold the Constitution. Yes, sir.
Do you like the Freedom Caucus? Do you like Jim Jordan? Do you like people that elected Congress to join the Freedom Caucus?
Who remembers the Tea Party?
Pardon?
Who remembers the Tea Party? What happened? Tea Party got co-opted. You remember? Yeah. Tea Party got co-opted. Jim Jordan is just like the rest. I know that's hard to hear. Some people unfriended me when I told them that Trey Gowdy was a rhino. They just don't want to hear the truth. But they have the votes to prove it. They have the votes to prove it. Senator Mike Lee and Doug Collins are responsible for conservative voices being shut down in social media because they support Provision 230. Tucker Carlson did at least a 15-minute video on that, exposing it. He is one of the few people in Fox News that will bring these things out, and he did the same thing to Jim Jordan, and Jim Jordan didn't answer his question. He skirted around it and went to something else. That's why I say if you ask me a question, I'm going to answer you directly, whether you like it or not. I'm going to tell you the truth. But I'm always going to be on the side of the Constitution and the Word of God. If there are no more questions, I shall. Shut up. Thank you.
Alrighty, well, I think that concludes it. If you want to go and talk to either one of these candidates, you may. So.